Hello, how are you? I hope you're good. Are you excited for a new spreadsheet? I hope you are, because that's what I'm bringing it to you. We are gathered here today to talk about CAWPILE version 3. If you are unfamiliar with CAWPILE, I will go ahead and link the previous videos down below. A lot of you here are familiar with it and are just here for the new version. But CAWPILE is a book rating system where we separate it by categories and rate it, assign a value to each category, and then it calculates it for you what type of star rating that would entail. It honestly really warms my heart to see so many of you use CAWPILE, whether with the spreadsheet or without. As I mentioned, this is a third version. If you're happy with the previous one and you don't want anything changed, that's totally fair. You can just make a new copy of that and then start anew. But if you want to see what's new and what are the changes, then that's what I'm here for. I have a couple of points that I will very kindly ask you not to skip through just now before I go into showing things, because they're very, very important. Point number 1. This is a spreadsheet used on Google Sheets, so on Google Drive. Anyone with a Gmail account has a Google Drive account. The Gmail emails are free to set up if you don't have one. This is accessible then for anyone. Doesn't matter if you're a Windows or a Mac user, which is a massive reason for why I wanted to create it there rather than Excel, because I know Excel is used in a lot of computers and Mac users can get it, but it is a paid service. Unfortunately, this does not work on Excel. If you download this, the graphics, even the drop-down menus, I think nothing basically works because it is a different system. If we're honest, I'm pretty sure they do it on purpose. I wish it did, but it doesn't. Point number 2, this is the most important one. When you want to use it, you have to download a copy of the spreadsheet that is linked in the description bar. I am not exaggerating when I say that I get emails weekly still requesting access to the original file. I cannot give you this access because then you'll be able to type in the sheet and then nobody has a clean sheet to download and everyone's just writing on top of one another and it would be a hot mess. So the link that is down below in the description bar is a link to a blank spreadsheet. These are step by step what you need to do to get your own copy. Step number 1, be logged in into your Google account. Step number 2, click the link in the description bar. This will take you to the Google Drive folder where my empty copies are for you to make a copy of. Step number 3, decide which version you want from later in the video. Right click on that spreadsheet. Step number 4, click make a copy. Now this will create a copy in your own G Drive for you to then freely use. No one will be able to open this, unlike the link that I'm providing. No one will be able to type over it. Once you click make a copy, it will come up with a notification saying like, show me where this file is. Alternatively, on the left side of your screen, you can always click my drive and the copy will be there. It will be called copy of CAWPILE, whatever you chose. You can rename it with your name. That is the spreadsheet that is now fully yours. Very fittingly, thing number 3 that I want to mention is that this is your spreadsheet. The blank option that I provide has so many options, especially this third version, that will simply not be something that you necessarily want to track. This spreadsheet can be adjusted entirely to your liking. I don't mind it. I actually encourage you to make it your own. If you want to change, add, delete, rename, you can do anything and everything, and I'll show you how. Just like last year, I do have 2 versions of this. We have CAWPILE Base, as in basic, a baseline, and then CAWPILE Plus. CAWPILE Base honestly has the bare bones of the system, and then CAWPILE Plus has a lot of things. I will first show you CAWPILE Plus and go through all of the changes that I've made and the new things that we have, and show you how to customize it for yourself if you want to not track some things. And then I will show you a base version just in case this is all you really desire as well. But if not, I would then say download the Plus one and just edit it or just use it as is. Okay, so this is what you'll be able to see straight up. And we're gonna go into the CAWPILE Plus version. This is the version that is available for you to download. As you see, it is all blank, however. So I will open up an example spreadsheet just for me to showcase things better. Rest assured the one that you'll be linked to is going to be blank. I've actually made this in the colors of 2022 as according to Pantone, which is just unnecessary but kind of fun. So a lot of things obviously are carried from last year, like obviously the title of the book. Previously, however, in the reading statistics chart, it was set up so that it counts it as a book once the author is entered. I have now changed this, so it will count the book as soon as the title is put in, because that just made no sense. But so that bit is fixed. Then there's a drop-down menu for you to select a month. You have the author name. The new column is the publisher column. I just popped in some non-existing ones, but you can definitely draw a parallel for which ones you think I meant. But this is just to show you the graphs later on. This is a simple type-in feature, so you just type whatever the publisher is, because I obviously cannot list them all in a drop-down. There are so many houses and imprints that I'm just not even aware of. So it's easiest if you type it up and it will appear in the graph in the statistics page. This seems like a good part of where I would talk about what if you don't want to track a particular thing, because I know not everyone is going to want to track the publisher. So anything and everything that you don't want in your spreadsheet, I would very much encourage you to hide instead of delete, just in case it messes something up. It shouldn't, but just in case it messes something in statistics, because obviously the columns shift and normally it should automatically upgrade in what they're tracking in the statistics page, but it just doesn't always. And hiding it honestly does the same exact thing. You won't be able to see it, it won't gonna bother you. What you need to do is to click on the letter of the column of which you want to hide. When you click the letter, it will highlight the whole column. You right click on it and you click hide. You will see there's this little arrow bit here that if you wanted to, you can open back up, and here is the hidden column. So that's the only thing that you'll be able to really see, but it's also nice in case you change your mind later on and you don't have to re-download the spreadsheet. Okay, so that is how you hide it. Very important again, if you want to get rid of a particular thing you're not interested in tracking. There's a bunch of stuff that I will, on my own personal one, I will be hiding because I just don't think that I need to track everything that's in here, but I wanted to provide an opportunity for those who do want to track these things, as it's going to be such a personal preference who wants to track what. Yeah, we have the publisher, then we have the format read in. Previously, I believe it was only physical, ebook, and audiobook, and now we have added mixed media. This is for when you're reading both physically and audiobook, either at the same time or intermittently. That would go under mixed media. Same with ebook or physical, just a mix, pretty self-explanatory. Then we have pages read. This is not a new column, but saying that they would like to be able to separate how many pages they read in that month, because maybe there's like a 1,000-page book and they read it over 3 months, but not in 1 month. So they wanted to showcase as in like in that month you read that many. Simply for that kind of thing, I would suggest simply putting it as a separate row. So put one book as like a normal book entry with how many pages the book actually has and how many you read that month. If you read it over 3 total months, then add 2 more entries, but just leave the book title empty, and that shouldn't count as a separate book. But you can still select a month and how many pages you read in that month, if that makes sense. So it doesn't actually need to be adjusted in any way. You can just do it as how it is already. The new thing is hours listened for the audiobook lovers, to track how many hours you listen per month. We have the book length, that is a drop down, which is going to be a bar graph instead of a pie chart as per your request again. Another new thing is the book format, which was a very good point, and I don't know how I didn't see it last time, but you guys asked for the graphic novel and comic to be as a format rather than a genre, which again makes sense because it is. Now we have a book format drop down where you pick if it's a novel, a graphic novel, or a comic. And then you go on to picking a genre. So graphic novel or comic no longer appear under a genre. The graphic novel or a comic can have a separate genre, as it should have been from the beginning. We still have the notable subgenre. Again, if you don't want it, mark it, hide, it's gone. We have the age category, which all the same, didn't change anything there. publication year. I've added a couple more things in the acquired, like you guys requested as well. So we have owned, library, gifted, Scribd, Audible, which are just the two main platforms I know people use for audiobooks. You got it from a friend, or an ARC, which is an advanced reader copy. Another thing to note for the drop-down menus, you are actually not limited to the drop-down menus. You can simply, I'm gonna say fairies. You can simply type over whatever that cell is. It will appear here and it will be tracked in the statistics page. The only thing you will have is this error in the corner saying invalid because it doesn't match whatever is in the drop down. However, that doesn't matter, it will still appear if you want to. I'll keep it here so you can see. Then we still have the same, is this a reread option or if it's a first time reading. Then we have series or standalone, and then coming to the series page, we actually have a little bit more that we're tracking. Previously, we only tracked how many series you have finished. This year, we are also tracking, painfully so, how many new series you started instead of finishing the other ones. So you can, again, this is a simple tick box solution. If it's a book in a new series, you click it. If it's a second, third, fourth, but not the last, you also click it. And also if it's a last book in the series, you click it. You guessed it. There was also another good comment saying, what if it's a last book in a series that I choose to read, but it's not the last series? Basically, if you're DNFing a series, I would still say just click last book in the series because it's the last book in the series for you. Then we come to the CAWPILE. This is where one of the biggest updates, I guess, comes into play. So you will maybe notice that there is a drop-down menu now on the actual CAWPILE cells. And that is because for years people were saying, what if it's not a fiction book? What if it's a non-fiction book? And pretty much all the time I was like, I don't know. This is a system I created definitely for fiction books. But it was about time that I faced my own fears and tried to find a solution for non-fiction stuff, as well as comics actually. We have 3 sets of CAWPILE. We have CAWPILE as it always has been for fiction books. We have CAWPILE for comics or graphic novels, and then we have a set of CAWPILE for non-fiction. Some of the categories I consider to be applicable for all of these things. So we have intrigue and we have enjoyment. Those, you will notice, don't have a drop-down, and that's because I think this is a category that can and should stay in all of the whatever you're ranking. The only category that is different for comics is letter A, and instead of atmosphere we have art style. So you can click that to see it if you have a comic that you're rating. When you need to go back, you just click down and choose A again. So that is for the comics or graphic novels or picture books, I guess. But let's put up the non-fiction stuff. So for the C of non-fictions is credibility or research. For A is authenticity or uniqueness. For W, it's again kind of writing, but it's also readability because it's a very important factor. It came up pretty much in every answer that I asked you guys what sort of criteria you have. For P, nonfiction is personal impact. For L is logic and informativeness. And that, my friends, is now set up for a non-fiction rating. I don't know if these are gonna be perfect for everyone. Obviously, probably not. CAWPILE isn't in itself. And non-fiction varies so much from, self-help to guides to coursework to biographies, and they're so different. So it's hard to put them in a category that would hopefully apply to everything, but hopefully these are close. It was a little bit of a challenge putting these, that they still fit into the CAWPILE acronym, but here we are. I will show you this once. If you are desperate in changing any of the categories, but you still want this to be in the drop down, you go onto that cell, you right click it, you go view more cell actions, you go to data validation, and then you should already be on the screen. And this is the options. They are separated by a comma. So you can see that the option 1 is C, characters. Option 2 is non-fiction, C, credibility research. You can change this. You can write whatever you want if the non-fictions don't suit you. And then that will appear instead. Okay, and then you plop your ratings, just do whatever, and it will automatically calculate into the rating column right here, so you don't touch it. If you do accidentally type over it, a heads up will pop up. If heads up ever pops up and you didn't purposely want to change something in that cell, you just click cancel. If you do want to change it, you can pause that as you saw for 5 minutes to make the changes you want. These are simply just protected because I know sometimes people will click on or delete something they didn't mean to. That's literally just why. The next biggest, I guess, change is that now we also have half stars. So I know that a lot of people are migrating from Goodreads to Storygraph, and that platform also has and allows half stars. And obviously, it is a little bit of a faff going into the CAWPILE cheat sheet to kind of calculate where the half star would line up. So I've done that for you. And I assume people will just, you know, settle on which one they want and hide the one that they don't want. So for example, if you are going to go with the half stars, you can simply hide this one. It will come up with the heads up because this one does have calculations, but just click OK. And here it is. It's all hidden. So now if we change something here and change it again, you'll see that the stars still work. Similarly, if you don't want the 0.5 stars, you can hide this column again and it will be just fine. Now to find it, again, you need to open this up. When you open this up, you probably have seen it in the previous version, you'll see this. This we don't ever need to see. So once again, just put them up and hide. That is something for us not to worry about. It's all good. But yeah, you'll see that in here there's the conditions set up, the formula for your stars to appear. So you don't need to override it. These you just don't need to touch at all. We're continuing with our DNF tick box. If you DNF a book, then you can select a main reason for why you did so, or just type over if it's a different reason. We have date started, date finished, and how many days it took you to read it. Again, highlight, right click, hide if you don't want it. I will keep saying it. Language read in for those who read in multiple languages. The new one that we have is translated book. If you are trying to read more translated works, you click, again, it's a tick box, and then original language if it was translated, if you want to track that too. If you don't, what do? Right click, hide. The LGBTQ plus rep, same as before. Have pretty much the same kind of thing with disability rep, which was another requested function, so I've added that as well. You can specify if you want to. If you don't want to, you don't have to. Another thing that I thought would be fun to track is whether this author is new to you or if you've read from them before. So that is, again, just a selection, whether it's new or if you've read from them before. POC tracker, again, written by, we have a couple of new options. We used to have non-binary woman, man. Now I've added multiple authors because a lot of comics have that, or not specified. Author's nationality, own voices. At the very end, there's also a little checkbox for whether or not you reviewed it. This was requested for those who have blogs or YouTube channels or reading journals, and they want to know whether they already reviewed this book or not. Again, if you don't want something, right-click, hide. So on the bottom here, you'll see different tabs. If you go into the reading stats tab, you'll see all of these tables. It will show you how many books you've read per month, how many pages you've read per month, and then you have a little box here showing how many books you read in total, how many if you exclude DNFs. DNF means did not finish, I should say that. How many pages in total per year, how many hours in total per year, that's a new one. We have number of books DNF'd, total of number of books DNF'd, hours listened per month, the main reasons for DNFing, languages read, reading method, and then as you'll see, these are separated into kind of categories. This one's reading, this one then comes to things to do with the actual book. For example, what genre it is in. This is the book length. As I said, it was requested in a bar graph, which is a good shout. This is much better. I've also added read across how many different genres. Actually, don't remember, this might happen from the previous one. Number of translated books. Then we have the book format, the original language read in, and books per publisher, just in case you're wondering if you accidentally gravitate towards one publisher over the other. Now you'll know. Or not, if you right-click and hide. We have the star ratings. I also made 2 graphs because I wasn't sure which one people will want. So we have star rating and then star rating plus half stars, whichever you will decide to go for. We have age category, publication year, all the rep breakdowns, how you got it, rereads, series or standalone, and then a little table here showing how many series you've started, continued in, or finished that year. Author bit, the only 2 new ones I think are the new or returning author split, but as well as I've also added a number of books per author, just in case you wanted to see the breakdown. That's probably gonna look like a very crazy pie chart because most of them will probably have 1 in them. But if you read 2 or 3 or even 4 from the same author, they will be kind of cool to see as well. And also at the bottom here is like how many unique authors you read from, so how many different authors you read from. Now if you do hide something, it will appear as no data because there's going to be no data there. For example, in this still empty spreadsheet, if you go into the reading stats, you'll see what it says, no data, because there's obviously nothing, it's an empty sheet, so there's no data. So for example, if you've decided that you don't want to track languages read in because you only read in one language, or simply you don't care, it's very easy to just clean this up. So for example, you don't want it, you click the table and you click delete on Windows and backspace on Macs, and it's gone. And then if you have like a big gaping empty space, you can equally take a table and move it with your mouse and put it wherever the gap was. So you don't have to have those no data things kind of annoying you in here either. I think the last bit that I have to talk about here is these little guides. I don't know what the word choice would be for this. It's not really a guide. It's more like a prompt list, something to help you out if you're a little bit stuck on a category. So I know there are a couple of categories that people are not always as clear on, which is totally fair. So these are just suggestions from my end, and it's not a complete guide. Obviously, it depends on a book, and I didn't want to take too much space either. So these are just some prompting questions. For example, for the characters, are they memorable? Where the second character is distinguishable, important, additive to the story, blah, blah, blah. The main ones, I think, were, for example, atmosphere, because to me, immersiveness is what that means. For the plot, for example, that is where I include pacing, if it was good as well as everything else with the plot. And the one that I think trips people the most is the logic category. So this obviously is a category where I think if things made sense, how many times did I have to stop and think like, that doesn't really match the character's motives, why would they do that? Or question the magic system, or just be unclear on the magic system. But I also include the world building category within logic. You don't have to. Again, this is that's the beauty of CAWPILE. You do you. But if you want a little bit of help, or if you wonder where to put world building, I put it in logic. So I wanted to provide this in case it is helpful. Again, it has a lot of prompting questions. That's all it really has, is prompting questions. So if that's something that's useful for you, if you're a bit stumped on the rating, then that is on the CAWPILE cheat sheet now as well. Together with the nonfiction section, again, guys, I tried my best. I asked you for what sort of things you also read nonfiction. Do you read nonfiction, but not nearly as much as fiction books? That is why this was geared towards fiction, but I didn't want to create like a subpar rating system for the nonfiction and do you guys dirty. But I took your advice and I input my own things, and hopefully this works. I don't know, maybe we'll change it a bit next year. I don't know. You can also just always choose not to use it as a nonfiction rating thing if it is completely missing the mark, but in case it's helpful, it's here. And above is the same stuff that we had before, the kind of breakdown of the rating categories, the star breakdown as well, and the rough rating guide for the scores to kind of give. And this is courtesy of AJ, so thank you AJ for making that. Now, if you do want the bare bones one, we have CAWPILE Base. So this is CAWPILE Base version 3 2022, and all we have left is the title, month, author, pages read, hours listened, main genre, age category. I left in the series stuff. I feel like that might be still quite interesting to track, I don't know. Then we have our CAWPILE system, the star, half star, again pick one, hide another. I left in the DNFs, and that is it. That is the bare bones version. And if you go into the reading stats, that is all of the tables. Again, this is no data because it's an empty one, but that is it. That's the stats. I only left the relevant ones. So once again, when you open the link, this is what you should be able to see. Right click and make a copy. Not download, not going inside of the spreadsheet and try typing it there. No. In here, right click and make a copy. Download doesn't work. Sorry to say. I think that's everything. I am absolutely sure I have missed something. Hopefully everything works as it's supposed to. Yeah, last year we had something not working, but I did quickly fix it and updated it. So hopefully that will not happen, but it might. We'll see. If you have any questions, ask me in the comments down below. I hope this will be fun. I hope this will be useful most of all. No, actually, most of all fun and then useful. That's it. Thanks so much for watching. Happy reading, happy tracking, and I'll see you in the next one soon. Bye!